Welcome to the Rise with Love podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Mills. I work globally as a speaker, retreat facilitator, medium, and mentor. My mission is to awaken and realign you back to your magnificence, your power, and infinite potential. As the founder of the Rise with Love philosophy, I'm honored to share wisdom that will create the expansion of joy, abundance, love, and freedom to flow into your life. If you're ready, I want to hear you say yes, because the most wonderful things will unfold for you when you embark on the journey to rise with love. Let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Rise with Love podcast. I'm super excited to bring a very special guest today who is pretty much going to blow your socks off. And I want you to think about a time in your life where you wanted to give up and things weren't working. And our speaker today is going to truly help you to pivot, to shift your mindset so that you can truly create the life that you want. So I'm excited to welcome the beautiful Dr. Alison J Kay from Vibrational Upgrade System. Her mission is to support the next higher evolution of the collective. So you can see why this is my jam, and create change for the health of this planet and those who are ready to unleash every part of the magic within them. So I feel that Dr. Allison is the perfect embodiment of how we rise with love. So without further ado, let's give Dr. Allison a huge welcome.
Melissa, I love what you chose to read. Very few hosts of the hundreds of podcasts I've been on choose what you just did to read about the empowerment of somebody and their magic within them. And by the way, I love your blouse. The sleeves are really fun.
I know. It's actually a dress. It's like, I thought I might,
Is it?
Brighten it up. It's a Saturday morning here. It's raining here in New Zealand when we're recording this. So I needed some brightening up. And I really am so looking forward to all that you're going to share with us, because I truly believe that we are here to experience the highest possible version of love. And when we ignite, like you say, the magic within us, this is what we get to do. So I want you to kind of take us back.
Yep.
How did the journey start? How did this all kind of come about for you?
Okay, so I'm on the Caribbean coast, the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, and it's raining here too. So I've noticed that you guys all be patient, please, because it might catch a little bit on the Zoom recording that we're using here. So I don't know, Melissa, the way that I tend nowadays to explain it is that it didn't really begin anywhere. I mean, there's a couple of pivot points I can, as you're saying, pivot points I can show you, but I grew up like going into the forest next to my house. I grew up south of, like a half an hour south of Boston. So I was in, not like farmland, but I was in a more rural suburb. And my older brother and I would tromp through the woods every day. And after school, when we went to school, and when we went to school every day. I don't mean to make it sound like we skipped a lot of school.
And if you did, who cares, right?
You know what I was saying. First, so he would be in front of me as boys do, and like he'd jump on the broken limbs and break them even more, and like, just be that boy growing testosterone destruction kind of energy or play kind of energy. And I would be behind and just connecting with everything and never having a sense of not being a part of this greater web, and like looking at the critters on like a clover down on the bed or the floor of the forest, and then over the creek. So then in my teen years, later on, I started to write in a journal, and it wasn't suggested to me by anybody. It was just a really natural thing I did, and I was connecting with my higher self, I realized in retrospect. So I was cultivating the voice of guidance that I was already connected with in the woods as a youth. And then in my my mom and I around 13, 14, 15, and we're having a conversation out in the backyard. She's highly intuitive. And she said to me, Allison, you're really good with people. You have this natural understanding. You might want to consider being a psychologist. And so I leaned in my version then at that age and kind of felt like, yeah. So I did it. And I was in my third semester as a psychology major. And I was horrified because I was like, you're not teaching me how to be the most, or us, how to be the most thriving, joyous versions of ourselves. You're talking about like how to take the understanding of how the brain processes stuff and apply it to industrial management or capitalistic purposes. You're busy proving yourselves as a hard science. There wasn't anything about the holistic system or how to be joyous. It was dismal, really. So I did a couple of other majors, studying society, studying advertising and marketing and its influence on society, and ultimately ended up with English Lit. Creative writing is like an art form to study humans and psychology and society or sociology from. So fast forward just a couple of years, really, and I'm just trying to tune into what's the best part to tell you. I hit my stride out west. I moved from being Massachusetts based to San Francisco, and was waiting to go for a master's in creative writing. Didn't have to take the test to submit stories. So I wrote those stories in cafes, sent them in, waited to hear, and synchronistically had a job offer come in to work as a political organizer to get people elected to the California state and the federal level of Congress who not just would vote yes on environmentally conserving legislation, but who would write it. It was so logical. I loved it. Was Doug Linney who formed the League of Conservation Voters. And I hit my stride. I mean, like just moved up the ranks because I was so passionate about what I was doing. And in that, I got put on these really intense campaigns and it had success. Like this isn't bragging, this is excitement. I helped the first Latina woman for the California State Assembly get elected into office, and she saved the last bit of green space in the LA basin ultimately. And so because I had so much success, then they put me in the Sierra Nevadas, Northern California, where there was a developer pitted against an environmentalist. And my system was so reacting to the stress I was under that I had to do something about it. Yeah. And so I was walking through a bookstore in San Francisco and a lavender book jumped off the shelf at me and stopped me I could have walked on it, right? But I grew up with books. My major ultimately in bachelor's was with books. So I'm not going to step on a book. And it was about meditation. And I did that so naturally. And so I had already gone to the San Francisco Chinatown, picked up a book about I Ching. I had visited there many, many times. So I was doing I Ching readings and I was writing in a journal and then I was meditating. I had taken yoga as my first class as an elective in college. So I was already like in that more holistic mindset. So the election season ends. I backpack around overseas. So I had already traveled a lot overseas. I was an exchange student in high school. So I had an adventurous sense of wanting to do that and tromp about the earth and play. And so I come back to the States. I get my master's to continue the work in policy to protect the environment. And when I get out, I was looking for, and as I got out, I got my modality. And then as I was going about the job placement, I was aware that I feel like that feeling when and you talked about this before we started to record this, that feeling of like you're pushing against a wall or you're like, it's not coming together. So I knew to read that as like, this seems to be a no. So I reevaluated it. I'm like, what I got was the huge, I'm going to call it a matrix around fossil fuels, and the marketplace around fossil fuels was just not ready to shift yet, consumers and industry and politics. And so it didn't matter if I worked within the system in like a federal EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, or I worked in a nonprofit, the change wasn't ready. So then therefore go work with one consciousness at a time to build towards the 100th monkey theory for the ultimate shift in consciousness that the consumers, like we did with organic food and getting cleaner food, would shift this too. And so ironically, Gord came out of politics at the same time and then started traveling with an inconvenient truth that he won a Nobel Peace Prize for. So I think we both pulled from the same collective unconscious awareness. So then I went and used my bachelor's taught in the classroom, first at the middle school level. And so 2.5 years into that, teaching the kids after school too, especially boys, inner city boys who were getting labeled with ADD and ADHD. I taught them Qigong and meditation with a male colleague of mine. It was wicked fun. And then I was also running energy medicine and holistic health and wellness sessions alongside my full-time classroom teaching career. And I remember one Saturday, I was treating a woman. She was like in her third or fourth session of energy medicine in a package of 10. And we were both really psyched about the results she was getting, really excited. And she was one of my earlier clients first, not the first, one of the first. And I remember having my hands over her abdomen, third and second chakra, and asking, how can I get even better results like this or than this for my clients? Or actually the term I used was, how can I get even more robust results for my clients? About that same time, I started to feel trapped, started to feel caged. I started to feel like I was doing my checkbook pre-digital banking one Saturday morning and too tight. I had barely any student loans. I had worked all the way through, and yet all I wanted was basic housing, basic car, organic food. Yes. Massage per week. Yes. Those are, I consider
those are very important.
Yeah. Preventative health 101, man. And I couldn't make it happen easily enough. And the sense of adventure was not present. The sense of abundance and fun and play wasn't there. So I asked, okay, my version of what else is possible. And so then within a month, I got somebody coming in with the information in my life of the international school system, went and did what I had to do, went to another part of the United States, did a bunch of interviews. All the school heads from all the international schools flew into this location. All of us candidates flew in, had a bunch of interviews, got a bunch of job offers around the world, all on the different continents. I was like spinning. And I realized that if I accepted the job at the school in Taiwan, I would be going to the seat, or one of the two seats, of not only who understands how subtle energy and consciousness work, but who still operate from it today. Whereas in the West, alchemy went underground, and then we had church and science. So I did, and I lived in Asia for 10 years and increased my net cash flow by 60%, continued to do energy medicine and holistic wellness sessions because I had been taking stuff in nutrition and herbalism, and then realized I was coaching people because they were asking about stuff, not only on meditation, but on consciousness. And as I studied on my vacations and at night and on the weekends and traveled around to monasteries and talked with monks and did chanting and got my yoga teacher certification over in India and a break in between semesters. So I realized that I was coaching. So I got my PhD as a holistic life coach, and then finished after 10 years and came back to the States very clear I had to, with the mission of, man, people in the West only knew about how to work with the subtle energy system and about how to work with their consciousness. And that if they did, how much less striving, efforting, making happen, and suffering there would be. If we didn't run as if there were a monster under the bed or a boogeyman, and in what I call the back of the house consciousness, and instead went in and worked with it, there would be just so much more fun to be had. And then the second one is professionalizing energy medicine. Those are my two missions. So how is that?
It's amazing. And it sounds like you've truly mastered quite a lot this lifetime as well. So you must have unlocked a lot of, past life mastery, and it's just kind of come to you, okay, I've spent all these lifetimes mastering doing this. Now I'm putting it all together in this lifetime. And I truly believe that we are in the most exciting time for humanity as we move from the 3D to 5D consciousness. The work that you're doing now is going to be so important and valuable. And so I can understand when you're talking about how the world wasn't ready. Feel like, I understand about the world not necessarily being ready for what you had to offer. I came out in my journey of creating Melissa Mills HQ in 2012. So I was part of that band of light workers that emerged in that real energetic time where we were anchoring in the 5D energy. And so like the work that you do fascinates me, that you are able to tap into the highest version of yourself, which is so my jam. With my clients and with my students, I really go into what is the highest version of you, be guided by that, reverse engineer, because most people manifest from the past rather than using their future self or their higher self to guide them. So I would love for you to talk about higher self and how we can connect with it to receive the wisdom, because it sounds like you're such a master of that.
Thank you. I love the reflecting you're doing. I appreciate it. This one appreciates it too. Feels good to hear. Really very unique reflecting than any other host has given me. So I can see your skill set shining through.
I thank you.
Well, Melissa,
you can just, Allison, you can just keep brushing my ego. It's great.
Well, you see, genuinely brushing involved, but not intended. Happy to be doing so. There was a sense when I landed for the first time flying over Asia, I was like, there was like a sense of echo. And so what I came to understand much later was what you just said. And for me to look at what I just did, I just went to my throat chakra. For me to recognize and acknowledge the sheer amount of work I must have done in other lifetimes in order to move energy the way I do. Like, I really am one of the few people, like, you see all of that marketing online talking about this stuff. People, when they come to me, like on my free monthly call, I just had it last night, they'll a lot of the time say some version of, when I call on them for the first time and they're connecting with me live, Dr. Allison, you're the real deal.
I love that.
But
Because
when I
there
first
is,
heard
it's like the new cool thing to do, right? To spin all these words and what have you. And it's, yeah, I get you.
yeah, I know you do. I see it. So, but I didn't know how to feel that, because I sputtered, and I'm in response to it. I'm like, of course I am. What I do works. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. You know, it was just like, this decade's worth of meditated head is really simply logical from a divine order of logic too. So you're talking about the higher self. There's a lot that I can do from a yogic perspective. Let's put that to the side just for a minute, but know that it informs my response. So one of the premises of Buddhism is, I find it's one of the most basic premises, is that every human mind is neurotic. Here are the tools with which to work with your own particular flavor. So that baseline assumption that we run from in the West, and in America in particular, have our biggest medical book, all of the diagnoses of every single psychological disorder, including being able to channel. So it's able to be approached from my first book's title that I wrote my 10th year over there, that started as my dissertation, that became a book, is What If There's Nothing Wrong? So like, even that in and of itself is a division between the East and West. Okay, so you're happily nodding, and I'm happily going to move forward then. So the way to work with like the potential. And so I ended up teaching AP Psych later in the classroom in the international school because of my psych background. And it was really interesting after like a couple of decades of working in consciousness and in energy to then revisit the information. And one of the things that got integrated was the understanding of developmental psychology. So if ages 0 to 2, we're not separated from our parents. We feel and think everything they do. So basically that's the imprint time. And then from, level 2, when brattiness now starts.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old.
So, I was wondering. Yeah.
Oh, yes, this tired mama.
Yeah, I just saw the roll of the eyes prior to that. You don't look tired. You look very bright and very
thank you.
delightful to look at. So thank you for being that way.
It's just for you, beautiful. It's just for you.
On a Saturday morning, too, nonetheless, with a 3-year-old. Round of applause.
I have 3 kids. So the youngest is 3. I have a 8-year-old and a soon-to-be 13-year-old as well. So
the 13-year-old, a girl or boy?
So I have 13-year-old's a girl, my 8-year-old's a boy, and then of course a 3-year-old's a little girl. So I'm done, by the way.
Fun. Have fun. Girls in the teenage years.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh.
All right. So, but that's her also magic time too. I'm sure you're playing with that. All right. So coming back to where we were at about the potential and living up to it, to age 2 is where we left off. But that no is when we're separating from our parents and we're starting to form that separate ego-based identity self. And so the Buddhist terminology or meditation terminology is ego mind. So I'm going to use that. Okay, so you got it. So the ages 2 to 8 is when we're starting to ask, like, how does it work on planet Earth here? And we're not doing it out loud necessarily. I mean, we're going, why is that? Why is that, mommy? Why is that? Why? I drove my mom crazy with that question. Stop asking why.
I'm pretty sure I was the same. Why?
And my mother was so unbelievably patient. To scream like that was not common, but it was because I had done it so much. So in our heads, we're doing things like we look at our older brother or our older sister and we see them get the smile and juicy response from mom or dad that we want. And so we calculate, I like that. How do I get that? And then we look at what older sibling is doing to get that feeling. And let's say it's an older sister and she's dressed in a really pretty dress. And when she comes out and spins around and has her hair in ribbons, that's when mom and dad give her like that. So we end up as a girl with that conclusion, the younger sister, oh, so I'll get that feeling I want if I dress up in frilly clothes and do my hair. And so that gets lodged into the unconscious as an unconscious conclusion. And so what that could lead to later is an overemphasis on physical appearance having to be neat and tidy and not ever relaxing and letting oneself be sloppy or other things that you can imagine. It's just a quick example of an unconscious conclusion. Traumas happen at a subconscious level. They go right into the subconscious because the ego mind just doesn't have the bandwidth to handle it. Karma and past life stuff can be worked with. So I go into the chakra system. Chakra means wheel, from Sanskrit to English, and it spins, and it's the intersection of mind, body, and spirit. So because of that, I can access the conscious mind, the unconscious mind, and the subconscious mind, that part of the body, that part of the endocrine system, the relevant gland meaning, and that part of the central nervous system, without going too far into detail. And then mind, body, spirit, the spirit component of what is out of chakra is where I can access past life and karmic stuff. So what I'm saying is that in not working in a way of calling myself a healer and people with health issues or big problems coming to me and expecting me from a victim status to heal or fix them, but instead working with people who are already on track of, I want to live the best life ever. And there's this potential we have that I find the science is that it's about 85% of our daily choices moment to moment are made from an unconscious and subconscious level. Let's just call that back of the house consciousness. I find from the decades of doing this work that it is more like 90 to 95%. So for example, when we learn to drive, we're saying out loud, shift into reverse, shift into drive, foot on brake, foot on gas. But once we're done learning, we don't hear that anymore. It goes lodged into us, the subconscious, where skills are that we no longer need to have conscious space to remind ourselves. So my desire in the work and what I've been guided to see in this mix and blend of East and West is the more that I can clear of the back of the house consciousness that corresponds to the relevant chakra, depending on the content of the belief or the block or the trauma or the karma, etc., then the more of that then gets flushed to the conscious mind. So you have more consciousness to then have more conscious choices made. So for example, if you're a woman and you're wanting to get out of the bad boy gig and you want to just date somebody who's going to be healthy for you, you go to a party and you haven't done any work yet on yourself. Your peripheral vision will not catch the sensitive guy in the corner who could be really good for you.
It's gonna always catch the bad boy.
Yep, right to the familiar look that turns you on, the chemistry's there. And you live out that pattern until you clear the blockages that have led to blockages, meaning subconscious or unconscious conclusions, even trauma, or even karma, whatever the causes are. I go at them, man, and we get rid of them so that you then have more consciousness available to as you walk into the party. You don't have to force yourself. There's not as much will or discipline involved because your consciousness is awakened and fresh, more bandwidth at your conscious mind level is there. Your peripheral vision has been expanded from this work. And so you will allow a new vibe in and you will notice it. And you may even be so cleared at this point of self-sabotage that you may even let yourself go talk to him. And you may even initiate getting his phone number. And you may even let yourself then later choose to call him and not wait till the third day. You may even go out on a date with him. So what I'm saying is that it allows us to make new choices that are actually, as we naturally purify that back of house consciousness, that's more ego mind or dense or old and needs and wants to be cleared. We have more alignment and there is more of the higher self informing the whole gig. You live increasingly from there in the daily choices of what to drink, what to eat, who to talk to, who to reach out to, who to avoid, what email to respond to, what email can wait, what creative project wants to get activated today, because you have a sense of the energy, you check in, all of life. It's not like just you get more able to channel or more like able to walk up. This is what drives me crazy. This is part of why I want to professionalize this field. And I tell my students this and teach them this, you do not ever go up in a supermarket or any kind of Whole Foods, health food store and offer what you're seeing to somebody. About them intuitively, right?
No, there's ethics around that.
Right. So using that intuition in a way, living from it as if it's a flow and applied in a way that you're recognizing everybody's responsibility to choose. And you're not pushing, you're not forcing, you're in your lane with your connection and seeing all of the possibilities or many of the possibilities. And you know how to allow them to grow. So it's accumulating, and it's a cumulative effect, and it's a momentum.
I love that. So what I kind of want to just maybe simplify a little bit is that
Sure.
we're moving from heal me, fix me, I blah blah blah, right? Which is what people
You're
are
the
wanting.
expert.
Yeah, realizing that you actually heal yourself, right? People just facilitate the space to be able to access that higher consciousness that releases the things. And what I love is that you allow people to go from being a victim to being really empowered to make the choices from their higher self, which is saying, you know what, we're done learning the lessons from, let's use the bad boy example, because I was one of them. I always went for the bad boys. Oh my
Me
gosh.
too. That's
Yeah.
why it's such a really accessible example.
I know all about that, right? So we move away from having to repeat that lesson over and over and over again and feeling shitty about ourselves and wondering if we're, something wrong with us, to actually being empowered, tuning into that higher wisdom and guidance that goes, actually, we're done. We don't need that loop again. Let's learn a higher version of love, of passion and expansion that is available for us here on earth. And so I love that. I love that. I love that so much. So I hope that kind of does that simplify what you do?
Yeah. And I love that you spoke it back. I love that you use the word looping. And especially with trauma, I see people have more of a strict, like, circularity that's harder to break, that requires more clearings. Trauma and karma are the stickiest. But I want to clarify something. And it's only recently I've started to have the guidance to do this. And it's only on behalf of listeners. So like you said earlier, how easy it is, it's a trendy thing to talk about this stuff out there. But there's a lot of people who are talking about how easy using the law of attraction and manifesting is. And I see a lot of people come to me, if they even get to me, they may have other people give up because they tried the things social media memes are telling them about law of attraction and manifestation for like 3 months at most.
Like, do a vision board, and that's all you ever need to do.
And then, and if it's right. So then if the stuff doesn't manifest, they give up thinking this energy stuff doesn't work. So then there's the people who come to me and tell me their stories of the law of attraction. And what I hear most frequently and recently is my masterminders who are getting trained as vibrational upgrade system practitioners telling me, Dr. Allison, I had the awakening about the law of attraction or other possibilities, but I didn't know the how. You've shown me the how. And so there are techniques that and another thing that occurred to me as I was looking over last night's free monthly call, you touched upon this with your read and understanding of me that you intuitively showed me you had. The amount of purification I must have had to do, because I was talking about purification last night, to be able to sustain the frequencies and even have access to the support that I have. I was just thinking this hours ago, like, Jesus. Because I was talking about purification being a part of the process. And in fact, perhaps COVID has extended because there has not been enough purification of the ego mind. And I have not been espousing on COVID at all, because I have been talking about the clearing we've been doing since 2012 and in these awakening times.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't want to overly simplify. You listening to YouTube to a chakra balancing sound healing of a really great crystal bowl or a bowl that resonates to the third chakra is great. It will momentarily balance your chakra, maybe for the rest of the day. But what I'm talking about is purging. I'm talking about going in and clearing out for then having ensuing permanent behavioral change.
Yeah, I love that. It's not a sticky plaster. It's really letting go of it so that it's no longer in your consciousness this lifetime or beyond.
Ever.
Yeah.
And then it gets really fun for the creation. I just was doing this. A mastermind had just responded about how she needed her passport renewed before the retreats. Everybody meets me over in the UK in Glastonbury, the heart chakra of the planet.
Oh, I love Glastonbury. That's the fairy portal.
It is. Totally. You see all the fairy houses?
Oh my gosh. Like, it was there. I didn't really believe in fairies until I went to Glastonbury in 2015. And I was like, whoa, they're actually real. And we went into like this well that you have to have permission to go into. Yeah, it was amazing. Amazing.
It's very rare to catch the open white spring. You were blessed.
Yeah, very blessed. We could go in the water of it, and yeah, it was so
wow.
Cool. Yeah, we could. I think they said where the fairy king is and where the queen is, and it was just like, it blew my mind. I wish I could go back now, knowing what I know, because I wasn't like, I was awake, but I wasn't awake to the level that I am now. So yeah, maybe I'll make it to one of your retreats.
It's magical. They're magical. And I feel and sense that there's been a lot of people I've been talking to who have the response like you. I encase the trainings in the attunements and in the manuals and certification in the different levels over in Glastonbury. I have yet to open up retreats without that component, but I can feel that's coming in 2022-ish. So stay tuned. But one of my clients, my masterminders, needed her passport renewed, and she's just starting to hit her stride with manifesting. And I'm talking about now the future, like stuff getting easier, right? Forget about dragging around the past. We've cleared it in Persia, like you said. And so she had been doing the expedited passport thing, and she had thought it was supposed to be 7 more weeks. She just got it today. So it was 7 weeks early, so she can easily travel. And then there was another man. Oh, she got 2 new clients. So, I mean, really playing with how easy can this get? And what would it take for today to be greater than yesterday? So I know that the 5D and the 4D, they're right here. You know, it's just a shift in consciousness to access them. It's not like you have to move to Glastonbury, UK, or you have to like look different necessarily, or blah, blah, blah. It's right here. It's just an expansion in consciousness that happens through shifts. So then you can start we can send remote healing. Time and space has collapsed. So that means once you get more aligned and empowered to manifest, all this new stuff's becoming possible on this planet right now. Who knows what we can create? You know?
I feel like I have just gone into, I call it quantum hacking, which is really using like the quantum realm to collapse time and space. And it's just so much fun to play with. And so I can see what you're talking about. I'd love for you to share your book. You have a book that I feel is going to be so amazing for the listeners. So do tell us the title of the book for those that are listening to the podcast, and where we can get our hands on the book, what's in it. So
the title is Dragon Master Creatrix, and the subtitle is Conversations with a Female Spiritual Teacher for These New Times. One of the colors matches her shade of lipstick. If you're watching the video, look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
And it's just so beautiful. Is that a lotus on there?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's a crow. And then on the back is an ibis. So there's a lot of animal medicine in here. It's interesting. It's the first of my 4 books that is not pure nonfiction. It's written from a student's perspective of meeting me, traveling internationally, meeting me in Glastonbury, UK to get the training, and talking about getting the attunements, talking about going to the sacred sites and stone circles, and learning about energy flows and interacting with the other community members that they've only been online with up to that point, with the question as she's on the train heading to the airport in her home country of, things aren't bad. I have a good marriage. My husband and I, it's compatible, but I don't know that I want to stay there. So in the everything's okay realm, not I have a problem, this is heavy, everything's okay. Do I want more for myself? So the first half of each chapter is that story tracking with her and her experience with the retreats. And the second half is like the yoga guru thing, the question and answer thing, which is really fun. It's my literally questions that my students have asked me. And they're not like only about like, oovy groovy, like, how do I open my third eye, or how do I teleport? Instead, they're like, how do I stop giving a shit what other people think of me so I can make my choices more easily and honor myself more easily? So the book is super fun, and it's on Amazon.com. I didn't really need to say the .com, but I'm annoyed that my phone is ringing. Sorry.
You're all right.
But I want to offer something special for your community, especially because of what you said you're shifting into. If you go to the title of the book.com, Dragon Master Creatrix. And I bet you're going to be able to say Creatrix right away.
Creatrix? Is that right? Creatrix?
I nailed it. So many people have a hard time with that word. So
I'll put it in the notes. We can create the link and we'll chat about it, and I'll put it in the notes and make it easy for people.
Okay, because then you get 3 videos. You get some bonuses. If you buy the book and come back there with your receipt, you can get the book to Amazon from dragonmastercreatrix.com. You get a month of my membership, Activate Your Magic, where you get these clearings and activations I've been talking about. You get 3 videos, each from sacred sites. One's from a stone circle in Ireland, focused on abundance and harvest, where I'm doing activations there. Another one is from Teotihuacan, Aztecian/Mayan ruins outside of Mexico City. One's energy being sent to you from the top of the Temple of the Moon for the yin. And then another one, I went to the top of the Temple of the Sun and sent energy flow to you for the yang. So you get those 3 videos, and then you get a month of my Activate Your Magic membership for free for buying the book. So I don't extend that to everybody. So I wanted to you and your community.
Well, thank you. I'm sure I'll definitely be getting my hands on the book. It sounds amazing. And I can probably relate to so much of the student perspective of it. I really believe we should never stop being the student and the teacher both at the same time. And
Uh-huh.
I kind of want to, I know we could speak forever, right? I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I want to just ask you this question that I ask everybody because I find it fascinating. So, if you could have a conversation with anybody that's walked the earth, whether they are fictional or not, living or past, who would that be and why?
Oh my God, what a brilliant question. This is not ego stroking. That is, instead of who's the most inspiration for you, who's your role model, or who's the best mentor for you? I love what you just asked. Who would I talk to? You know who's coming in? I'm gonna have it be a couple.
That's fine.
Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Why? I
And
have to,
why?
yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. Let them come in. A lot of people actually choose Jesus and Mary, which is so interesting because I feel like they're playing such a pivotal part in this ascension process that we're in.
The divine masculine and divine feminine balancing.
Yeah.
And I'm so interested because I know southern France has the Mary Magdalene Basilica in the cave, and supposedly she was on the boat out of Jerusalem, put out there, and I just don't know if that's true. And I am so much inherently that I don't even say it much about the empowerment of women. I mean, if I think of the clearings I did last night in my magic manifestation and money flow program, I mean, it was unreal. One of them, I mean, there was so much nasty energy leaving. And one of them was just about like being a woman in work environment and being expected to listen to the male's boss's problems as a part of your job description when it's not. And then women's voices just naturally being overridden by the male. So just is such rich territory right now. And I feel like they're really the Mary Magdalene, and I don't normally talk a lot about Mary Magdalene or Jesus Christ, and I'm surprised I answered that, but it's cool to hear that a lot of other people have. I feel like Mary Magdalene, there's some shutdown energy,
As with all women.
right? And I to get to the root to it, and I kind of start to trace the shutdown energy of magic in the West. In my first book, What If There's Nothing Wrong? I didn't expect to get taken there, but I ended up last night wanting to just be entertained. And so I watched a show about England 1800s, and it was a women's issues that were just like what I just ran clearings on. And I was flat. I was like, oh my God. Just seeing like not the origination because it already been originated. These were still being perpetuated. But like when women first rode bikes in skirts, like that time.
Or women first wore pants. Oh my gosh, what a scandal that was.
Yeah. Instead of like, who rides a horse side saddle? How dumb is that, first off? How balanced could you possibly be side saddle? Anyway, I could go off. I'm not gonna. So I think that there's a lot of issues like that I want to talk to them about, especially Mary Magdalene about.
Yeah. And I feel like what I've been getting, and I don't claim to be true or whatever, but I kind of feel that they worked together.
Oh, you
And
know
the
they do.
story, yeah, and the story's kind of course, being manipulated to shame women and to, um,
Yes.
and I'm like, this is why, as I move into this women's empowerment and really bringing in all my skills, and I feel, such a beautiful journey that you've been on as well. It's like, we're clearing all the shit. We're clearing all the stuff that doesn't serve us from the collective consciousness that has kept women in these loops. And by women freeing themselves from these traumas and sufferings, we actually make men better as well because it's not their fault. They're trapped in that consciousness too. So I
No, and
feel
they've got
like,
their own stuff they're dealing with,
yeah.
right? Like instead of being the hero anymore, the breadwinner anymore, the silent martyr, all of that.
So, I mean, I just love you and the work that you're doing. And really, just the
You
more we can empower and allow people to rise with love is just, I feel that's how we make this world a better place, whether it be one person or hundreds or thousands and million people at a time. Every person counts that we're shifting. So I would love for people to be able to connect with you. So where do you kind of hang out the most, where people kind of should follow you and all the things?
and all the things. I love that phrase. I want to start using it. Can I?
Go for it.
All the things. Vibrational Upgrade is a free Facebook group. I'm there frequently. And then my website's vibrationalupgrade.com. And there's a free monthly call if you go over to the far right. New start here. Check that out. Then there's a chakra series page. You can self-assess and then get sample clearings on each chakra right there on the page if you want. But yeah, that's enough for now. Thanks.
I love it. Oh, I love it. I'm so in awe of you as this incredible being and the journey that you've been on all of these lifetimes to bring the sacred medicine that you're bringing into this earth right now, which is so needed, so beyond needed. And I hope that as many people get to experience this incredible, I feel like you're unlocking
Yes.
this innate wisdom that is just there, but we just like, yeah, I don't want to, open it just in case. I just want to stay being a victim because that's familiar,
Easier
right?
and
Yeah,
easier.
it's not. It's really not.
No, it's really not. No. And you said something that was really interesting in that I traced back to Mary Magdalene in the beginning of the shutdown to clear it. So it's like I'm doing both that mechanism as well as what you just said. Because even in my clearing statement, it's a clearing and then an activation. The activation side, part of it is activating the keys and codes within you, the inherent talents within you, the ancient wisdom within you. So it's all, you and unlocking it. So you're right on the pulse of
Yeah,
it's been
I
a
love
pleasure
that
talking with
because
you.
people think that it has to take a long time, that we have to, I
Oh,
love that you started your journey as in psychology, and it's like it doesn't have to be 10 years in therapy where you're rehashing the past and oh my gosh, and keeping in that loop forever. It's like it can be instant with these activations. Once you clear it, everything's energy. And so if we realize that we are more energy than we are this physical body, right? It's
yep.
magical. It's magical. So, I'm
Supposed to
so
be
excited.
magical. Like my second book, Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss. Because like our chakra system is designed for us to be blissful about like how we're making our money, for example. And if we're not, then we suffer. So like we have the innate wiring for the magic you talk about. It's not meant to be like this plodding along, suffering, struggle, pain.
Oh, I don't think I would have chosen to come into my physical body if that was the case. I would have been
But so
like,
many
no
people believe that.
thanks.
It's crazy. So many people believe that when I'm down there in the body, there is pain and suffering. And so they never even fully go all the way down to the root. They stay up here. It's
Aw.
amazing what you're saying. It's so opposite of, I loved being interviewed by you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so
Yeah.
welcome. We'll have to maybe do a part 2 with you. I just love you and I'm so in support of everything that you're doing. So I encourage
Likewise,
everybody
Melissa.
to go and check out Dr. Alison J Kay. Of course, I'll have all the links, and it's just been such an honor. Thank you so much for sharing your sacred medicine with us in this conversation. And I know that our paths will cross in the physical in the near future. So I'm excited to hug you and just be in your space and just
I welcome that.
the magic.
The more power releases, right? Two magical beings together, awakened, activated.
So is there any last words that you want to share with the Rise with Love listeners, my love?
I do. Our missions are quite the same, though. The backdrop for me is change consciousness, elevate it. What does that but love? So I want to give this. In case you missed that, it was. So end, complete. The old is done. You know it. So what would it take you to attune yourself more to the future and to the present and make choices that allow for that?
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Have a blessed Saturday, Melissa.
I know, right? I'm so excited for what is yet to unfold for all of us who just get to really get this, right? Because I feel like you are at a different consciousness when you really get this, and then you kind of go, yeah, it's not worth going back.
Oh God, no. It does get to a point where you hit that threshold and it's just sheerly logic that you wouldn't choose anything other than joy, because when you do, you know what happens. So you just have yourself choose joy no matter what. And you get so grateful for the breath. I don't like to talk like that. I like to use first person. I have found that when I'm talking to a woman in particular who has had a lot of negative self-talk and maybe even abuse in the past, but not necessarily abuse in the past, like hearing her negative self-talk, like I'm her number one cheerleader in her head until she can take that over. And that ability to be able to bring somebody into a momentum of furthering and further away from negativity and more into love and their own self-talk.
The power of the breath. Oh, so beautiful. I'm just so honored. Like I said, I've said this like so much already, but it's been a real honor to speak with you, Dr. Allison, and to share your time and, like I said, your energy with us. And I know that all the Rise with Love listeners are on this beautiful mission in their own way to spread more joy, love, and abundance. And I feel you truly are the embodiment of what it means to rise with love. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to you. Thank you to everyone listening. And oh my gosh, I love you.
Namaste. Thank you.